Alright everybody, welcome back. This is AddLess here, and this is going to be my third episode, my third card for the Pokemon TCG card pocket game. This is the third design I have made. This is Delibird. Now, Delibird is one of my favorite Pokemons. I think it's a really gimmicky Pokemon that also has a really nice design. And it's also just a really forgotten Pokemon from Gen 2. I see a lot of people making cards for your Tyranitar's, Umbreon, Crobat, etc. And I feel like Pokemon TCG, because of, how it works, how different it is from the main game, it gets to give a lot of these less known Pokemon, less flashy Pokemon, a really nice chance to have a really cool card. And so I really wanted to make cards for those sorts of Pokemon, which is the reason why I made one for Heracross, which Heracross is a pretty popular Pokemon, but then I made one for Sudowoodo, and now I'm making one for Delibird. So, what do we have here for our Delibird? Again, I'm not sure who the artist is. If you guys know, comment section, please. Let people know who this amazing artist is, because the art that I took for this is really nice. Okay, Delibird. It's a basic Pokemon with 90 HP. So immediately we have here a very decent amount of HP for a basic Pokemon. It's not going to be as much as the Heracross or the Sudowoodo that I showed recently, but it is still a very decent amount of HP. Not as much as an EX, for example, but it's very reasonable. He has a weakness to electric type attacks and has a 1 energy retreat cost. So overall, we're looking at a very decent Pokemon for now. And then for 1 energy, you do an attack that does 50 damage. But let's look at the actual effect. So we have here, it's the attack, the move. It's called Present. Now, in the actual games, this is the main thing that kind of separates Delibird from other Pokemon. He is sort of a Christmas Pokemon type thing. Christmas adjacent, I guess. So what Present does, it's a very interesting move in game. It's not good at all, but it's very interesting because whenever you are attacking or clicking the move, I guess, you can heal yourself and you can damage others. The damage is variable, I believe the healing as well. And so it just becomes a very gimmicky move that more often than not doesn't actually do anything. But it's a very interesting move, and it's almost an exclusive to Delibird. And that's kind of what we did here with Present. So what is Present? So you deal 50 damage with Present. You flip a coin. If it's heads, you're dealing 50 damage to the defending Pokemon, so your opponent's active Pokemon. And if you flip tails, you're healing 50 HP from any of your Pokemon. So let's take a good look at this. So if you're clicking heads, it's 50 DPE, which is very nice. We talked about this before on our first episode when we were talking about Farfetch'd and when we were talking about Heracross. They do 40 damage for 1 energy. This is doing even more than that. 50 damage for 1 energy is really good. But if you're flipping tails, you're healing 50 HP to one of your Pokemon, which again is a very nice amount of HP. On average, of course, because it's a coin flip, you're doing 25 each every turn. So now let's do a little bit of comparisons to see why Delibird is so good. So this is, I think, the fairest comparison that we have is between Delibird and Mythical Island Primeape. So they both have essentially the same attack, assuming Delibird is flipping heads. 1 energy, 50 damage. Very easy to compare there. Delibird is using colorless, while Primeape is using fighting. Delibird also has more HP. Same retreat cost, and it's actually a basic Pokemon, whilst Primeape is a stage 1. So in that comparison, if you're flipping heads, if in a world where you can always flip heads, Delibird is clearly a better Pokemon than Primeape. Let's look at tails. if you're always flipping tails, we can compare yourself to Erica. So, you know, it's not a supporter card. You know, you're using present, you're attacking with the move. You're swapping your turn to the opponents, and you're not doing any other attack. But I think the same kind of goes with Erica, because you still heal 50 damage, but it's a supporter card, so you can only use, you know, the one Erica. You can't use any other supporters. Erica only works for grass-type Pokemon. Delibird works for any Pokemon. So again, we're looking at Delibird as at a clear advantage from Erica. So now, how is this card ever going to get balanced? And it's because present is just super inconsistent. You can never quite predict what you're going to get on each coin flip. And so essentially what it means is that you can have, you know, a lot of luck depending on the situation you're in, and you could also just be really unlucky in the situation you're in. So for example, you're attacking, it's your first attack in the game, you place Delibird, you click present, and you get tails and you heal yourself instead of dealing damage. Well, that's useless because you didn't have anything to heal, so you essentially wasted a turn. Same goes, if you really need to heal a Pokemon to win the game and you hit heads, well, that might just lose you the game. So, the inconsistency kind of makes it so Delibird is just not as good as it could potentially be. It's a similar problem to, for example, Marowak EX, where for 2 coins you deal on average 80 damage, which is very good. But as an EX, as a Pokemon, you don't want to leave all of your damage to chances. You know, a fourth of the time that Marowak is doing 0 damage. And that can be devastating in a game. And it's very similar here to Delibird, but at least Delibird gets to swing both ways. So, where do I see this Delibird being in the meta? So, first of all, it's a card that kind of works in every single deck, because it only requires you to use a colorless energy, so you can put this basically everywhere. It is also a very unique card, which, you know, it's because of its main attack. It's just, you don't have any other card that quite does something like this. I also see this being a card that gets used a lot with Giovanni, because again, most basic Pokemon are 60 HP, and if you get to flip ahead with present doing 50, and then plus 10 with Giovanni, you're doing 60 damage. So there's legitimately a world where you start with Delibird, 1 energy, attack heads, you do the damage, and you just kill the opponent's Pokemon. Now, is this a reliable play? No, of course not. Not only do you have to draw Geo and Delibird turn 1, but you also have to hit heads. And, you know, as some people would say in this game, you don't ever run Geo if you're not sure if you're actually going to deal damage. But it is a possibility, it's an interesting card for that. It's also a potentially very sustaining card, because healing 50 damage every single turn is very, very nice. It's something that not a lot of cards afford to do, something that mostly just grass-type Pokemon get to have because of Erica. And outside of that is just Kabutops, for example, that also heals himself 50 damage. He deals 50, heals 50, but he's a 3rd stage. So I think this is where kind of Delibird is going to go. Is it going to be a really strong card in the meta? I don't think so. I think this is one of those cards that it looks really nice because it does a lot of things really, really well. But in the end, it's just going to be too inconsistent to ever be, you know, a prominent meta card. But regardless of that, I think this Delibird card is going to be very fun and still relatively balanced. Which is where I want all the cards to be, you know. As long as they're hitting fun and somewhat balanced, I think they're great. So, this is my Delibird. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.